Habitually I would have said it's Thursday, and you know what that means. But it's not Thursday, so I don't know what that means. No, it's actually Friday. And so it's time to ignite the dynamite the day after Dynamite. Welcome to, I guess, this special day after Dynamite. I'm Will Washington. I am your dad here on Dad, but I'm not alone here because I am joined by a guy who I've known a really, really long time. And if you've known me a long time, then you've also known this gentleman a long time because we co-hosted a little show called RBR Weekly Wrestling Talk together for a number of years. And I knew him before he hosted RBR. And I've known him afterward. He is my dear, dear friend, Matt Galloway.
Will, thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here on Dad, as you said at the beginning of the show, or maybe it would be Day of Rampage, so which would be ironic for you, I guess.
Day of Rampage, I actually like that.
Yeah,
I didn't even think about that.
I'm happy to be here, and like you said, we've known each other for a long time. I had a scary realization just within the last hour that I've actually known you for over half of my life. 17 years, about to be 34 this summer. So,
oh shit, yeah.
17 years this month. So, scary.
Yeah, I know. Next Saturday, yeah, they say in the chat, yeah, DOR. I actually, next Saturday, and I was going to do a little something on Grapsody, is my 17th anniversary of podcasting in general. I have been every single week.
There's not even pods anymore.
I know, right? Yeah. Yeah, I was telling Scott when he was on the show a few weeks ago that I had a coworker who was genuinely shocked to find out that the pod and podcast is from iPods, and he's like, "Oh, that makes sense." But that's.
Is it a Gen Z coworker or is it?
That
would make sense.
Yeah, I want to say he's probably 29, 28. So I think late millennial. But either way. Matt, it's so great to have you here. And I wanted to ask Matt to be here because Dynamite, in case you're wondering why the show is a day late. And thank you all for joining us and continuing to be with me on this kind of wacky schedule. I know I didn't do a show 2 weeks ago. And then last week, me and Denise did the show. And so it's been kind of weird and we're changing the times. But I promise you going forward that Day After Dynamite will be on every Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern, which is... noon Pacific. Yes. And that is the time going forward for Day After Dynamite. And yeah, I'm being asked, Will, can you turn your volume down a smidge? Am I that much louder than Matt? Okay. So
that's I'm not used to that. I'm usually the loudest person in every podcast that I'm a part of.
Yeah. Somebody else said, Will, your mic is high, my dude. Okay. All right. Hold up. All right. We will turn this down to 130 and see how we like that. How about now? Does that sound better, folks? You guys let me know in the chat. That's what you guys are here for. See, if I didn't have live feedback, could you imagine if I was taping this stuff and then I find out way after the fact that...
Just post the whole episode. Everybody's like, ah!
Yeah,
just have to play you on a Bluetooth speaker from across the room.
Yep. Let's see. And I'm getting thumbs up. Better, no static. That's what I'm talking about. Thank you, everybody in the chat. I really appreciate
live
your
text
feedback.
Support.
Yes. And hey, friends. So, Dynamite took place this week from the Cable Dahmer Arena, which for whatever reason, and this is probably just a thing in my head. Do you remember the TV show Coach?
No.
Okay.
I remember the commentator Coach.
Yeah, no, that was Coach with Craig T. Nelson. Anyway, his two, I guess, I don't know, they were his Bulk and Skull or Lenny and Squiggy, I guess. They were his best friends in the show. But it was, their names were Luther and Dauber. And so whenever I think of Cable Dahmer Arena, my brain goes Luther Dauber Arena, which I know is not, and that's a reference that barely anybody gets, but that's how I think of it. It used to be the Silverstein Eye Center, which was, as
that's
Tony
how
Khan...
I remember it.
Yeah, and Tony Khan made sure to mention 5 or 6 times that was the home of the Kenny Omega and Pac Iron Man match took place. It was the go-home show to AEW Revolution 2020. It's actually one of the... I will say at the time it was one of my favorite episodes of Dynamite. I haven't seen it in a while. But I know that show had some pretty great stuff. I think there was a 4-way on that show, wasn't there? Yeah. Between... I want to say it was Hikaru Shida, Yuka Sakazaki, Shanna, and Big Swole. Tell me if I'm wrong, folks.
You'll have to rely on the chat because Wednesday was actually my first AEW show. You've encouraged me to go in the past, but I haven't really had a crew to go with. I'm the only wrestling fan that I know in my area. I have tons of wrestling fan friends, but they're all spread out throughout the country. I think a lot of wrestling fans are in a similar boat with that. But this time I had not only Will, who made the trip, the very nice and scenic trip from Colorado to the Kansas City area, and our good friend Cody Carlson, who was also in town. And fun fact, the Whataburger that's near this arena, the last time Cody visited me, we actually, after a Chiefs game where the Chiefs defeated the Broncos, I just had to throw that in there, we waited for 2 hours in line at that Whataburger, and they got our order wrong, and it was cold.
I saw Takeshita posted a picture of going to Whataburger, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's the one. And
that is the one. Whataburger is new to the Kansas City area for years. We got tortured on all the Big 12 football, basketball broadcasts because they would show ads for Whataburger because they were just, Big 12 country, and Kansas and Iowa don't have it. So it was just like basically dangling stuff in front of us that we can't have.
Yeah, I did make the drive, by the way. It was a very last-minute decision as far as how I was going to do it. We had been talking about going for months, but as far as how I was going to get there, typically I have no problem flying last minute, but all of a sudden, I've taken flights to Kansas City before. I flew into Kansas City once on a whim, I think in 2018, just to go, and spent $40 on my flight. Easy shit, right? This was, but I looked and I'm like, why are flights still $400 to go to Kansas City from Denver? That flight is 45 minutes, and I want to say 20 of those minutes are spent just getting the plane ready.
Yeah. Any flight where they don't offer you a snack, you cannot be $400.
Right. And so finally I'm like, okay, I'll just drive. I calculated gas prices. I think I ended up spending $150 in gas. Not terrible. I've made way worse road trips than that with way lower gas prices. So I made the drive, and I took Billy with me, mainly because Billy's birthday is day after tomorrow, June 12th. And so I was like, let's go, let's have some fun. And we did a father-son road trip. I drove through Kansas State, which is one of the most boring drives in all of America. I think it's that and Nebraska, I think, are tied for just boring ass drives.
Yeah. It's what do you like, corn or wheat? Take your pick which direction you want to go.
And there's nothing. There is nothing for so many hours. I got a speeding ticket, by the way. I got a speeding ticket over. So I wouldn't say I was an hour into Kansas, and I got a speeding ticket. And it's in one of those bullshit ass areas where, I'm the type to take my speeding tickets if I get them. I do take them to court, and the reason I do is because usually nobody wants to waste the time on a bullshit ass speeding ticket, and so they'll reduce them usually, and they'll be okay, look, 1 point defective headlight, and then I'm like, cool, and I walk away without having any speed. On the record, I don't have any actual speeding infractions, right? Every time I take them, it's just it's always some bullshit, and it's great. But this happened in a part of the country that there's no chance I'll return to, because I would have to go to court in that county. So I actually have to pay the speeding ticket. This is going to be the first actual speeding ticket on my record. I'm annoyed by this. Or do I go back? And will this even work out? I don't know.
I think you should go. I think you should make it another trip. I think you should go out there to whatever county that was, population 28, and you should fight it. Because, when you called me, Cody and I were at the Royals game when you called me and told me you got a speeding ticket. And my question to you was, how fast were you going? And your response was just too fast.
Too fast.
Too fast. But I feel like they intentionally made that road through the most boring part of America because they knew people would go 95.
I was doing 97. And so they clocked me at 97. And so that was that. I was also on the phone with my mom at the time. And I was like, Mom, I got to go. I'm being pulled over. And I forgot to call her back. So she's like panicking for hours because she's like, what happened to my son? He got pulled over in the middle of Kansas City. And I was like, sorry, Mom. It was fine. They were just like, slow down and let me go. And that was it. And then my car also stopped working. In that I won't say stopped working. I was able to drive it, but my check engine light came on over halfway through the trip. But it turned out it was just my cruise control that was busted. And they were like, well, I hope you weren't planning on using the cruise control through this trip because it's not going to work anymore. So whatever. Hey,
adventures.
I want to remind everybody of something though here. And people are freaking out over 97. But, I want to make sure that if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to Fightful Overbooked. We've got some great shows here on Fightful Overbooked, and they occur every single day. We've got daily content here on Fightful Overbooked from some really great people. I love everything SP3 does. Love everything that Jeremy does. I love everybody here at Fightful Overbooked is doing some great work. Please subscribe. Please check them out. Also, one of the things that helps support Fightful Overbooked is the Super Chats and the Humper Chats. If you go to humperchats.com and send us your chats, we'll read them right here on the show. But if you want them brought up on the screen, we can also do Super Chats. The Humper Chats, of course, YouTube takes a bigger cut of those chats, so if you want to support what we do better, we prefer the Humper Chats, but if you want your face and all of that brought up on the screen and your donation amount, then the Super Chats, such as our good friend Mac from Brooklyn, he says, one half of the Fatal Four back together again. It's good to see. There's still Fatal Four, this is one half of an iteration of the Fatal Four, I suppose. But if you really think about it, because I've had Felipe on the show as well, I've had Anthony Scats on this show. Really, as far as this show is concerned, I have a feeling that at some point I'll have had everybody on who's available on an afternoon, and most most of the time people aren't. So I do also get that. But
lucky for you, I'm taking the entire week off.
Yeah. Well, so I messaged you and I was like, "Hey, are you like working today?" Because I've tried to get Cody on the show, for example, but like Cody's schedule isn't quite conducive to doing this, and but you were.
Yep.
And so, they're asking some questions like Girl Power Wow says, hey, Will, were you concerned that none of the top contenders were in the Battle Royal? I mean, it was kind of obvious that Moxley would beat KOR. I mean, Moxley was going to win no matter what, I felt like. I thought that, but it was, we'll talk about it in a sec, but I thought it was a good way to get a great showing in for the person who ended up winning.
Yeah,
so
I thought my thought, just big picture on the show, and we'll get to it in a second. But just with the Battle Royal, kind of a microcosm of it, the biggest stars weren't in it. Like I was wondering, why isn't Jericho in this match? I get what they're doing with the MJF situation, but I was wondering, why isn't MJF in this match? A lot of the biggest stars weren't in the match, but for what it was, and a lot of the biggest stars weren't actually on the show. But for what it was, I thought it did a good job, and they have been building up Kyle OReilly lately, and I think it was a good competitive showing to build to the main event. I think one of my biggest, a lot of things with Dynamite that I've been critical of, I think that have kind of ramped up over the last few months every time I watch it, is that there are a lot of post-match run-ins, a lot of interviews that are interrupted within like 30 seconds of them starting, and a lot of shows that feel like bite-sized pieces that don't really tell a thread throughout it. Some of my favorite episodes of wrestling history have been shows that tell a thread from start to finish. This episode of Dynamite didn't do any of those things, and it did actually tell a thread from start to finish. Kyle OReilly won the Battle Royal. There were promos from Moxley and Kyle OReilly, and then they had a main event that capped off the entire single episode story. And then it didn't have the kind of crutches that I would call them at times, that they sometimes use, the EWR booking, where you don't know how to end a match segment, so you're just like, okay, run in by this person and then continue that feud. So I actually thought, and we'll get to our big picture thoughts on the show, but I thought in terms of actually being a disciplined show, this was one of the best Dynamites I've seen in terms of just being structured well.
Damn. Okay. And by the way, so they were asking, was Jericho at the Rampage taping? I don't think Jericho was there at all, which is interesting because I'm looking at the list of advertised talent and looking at it now. Two of them are understandable, but I don't know what the deal with Jericho was. But I know that Punk was advertised and he wasn't there. Brian was advertised and wasn't there, and Jericho was advertised and wasn't there. And I'm pretty sure. And I guess we'll find out on BTE this week. But my gut tells me that backstage segment with the Hardys and Matt and Nick and Jurassic Express was taped a week ago.
Yeah. No, that was my thought too, because I was like, well, we didn't see any of those people at Rampage or after the show. And I would have thought, man, if you're not going to have all of those other stars, you could at least have the Hardy Boys come out or something, even if they can't wrestle that night. So
yeah. I think that segment was taped last week at TV. That's just my gut feeling, mainly because I didn't see them anywhere at all throughout. And
that was one of my biggest concerns going into the show. Was you had such a big Dynamite last week with the MJF promo, the show after the pay-per-view. You have such a big show next week with the make good to St. Louis with the ladder match and all of the other stacked elements on that card. And then in 2 weeks, right, you have Blood and Guts in Detroit.
3 weeks, I think.
Okay, so I was worried that this would be almost like, in the ebbs and flows. I was worried that this would be a flow show, and it kind of was in terms of like one eventful thing happened, really, and the rest of it was kind of by the numbers. But I'm okay with that, and I think it's okay to have a show that maybe doesn't have a ton of newsworthy stuff happening, but just is a good wrestling show.
Yeah, I can agree with that. So I was. So I went back and watched it on television, and I have one big critique more than anything else. I don't know what happened, but Twitter prompted me to go look for this because I was in that building, super hot crowd, and all throughout. But I noticed on Twitter people were like, "Well, man, why is this crowd so dead?" And watching it, I agree. I don't know. What it sounded like, because you were in that building, I feel like the crowd was reacting for literally everything. It was like super hot all throughout. There were chants, there was everything. Yeah. When you watch it on TV this week, it's almost as if like a mic wasn't turned on or something, because the crowd all sounds like they're like a mile away. And it all sounds like it's at a distance. Like you can visually see people reacting. You can, like when there's pops, the pops all sound, and I feel like the pops were because of the fact that even like I feel like there's no mic that wouldn't have picked up some of those louder pops. But I felt like for the most part, the reactions all sounded very distant. Yeah. And I don't know what it was, but something sounded off about the show. And being there, this was as hot of a crowd as AEW's had. But I didn't hear it come through on TV.
I don't have a lot to compare it to because I haven't been to an AEW show before, but I did think as I was leaving the show, that was a crowd that was starved for good wrestling, and they basically, it's difficult to stay up for the entire show, but I felt like by the end of Rampage, they were as hot for FTR as they were for anyone else throughout the night. So I thought, I could only compare it to the Raw shows that I've been to recently and at the much larger T-Mobile Center in Kansas City proper. And that was a much hotter crowd than those WWE shows. So I'm guessing it was a situation where maybe it wasn't mic'd properly, but I feel like it was a hot crowd.
It sounds like there's just like a mic not turned on, and I don't know what it was, but something just wasn't picking up.
And it was weird because some of the miking in the ring was also a little off. Like you would hear the officials when they got to certain spots in the ring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we could hear them in the building. We could hear certain like when they would get to certain corners, we could hear like talking in the ring, like playing over the loudspeaker. It was a little odd, which I had never heard that before. Yeah, and by the way, it throws me off when you say because of the Sprint T-Mobile merger, when you say T-Mobile or T-Mobile Center, because T-Mobile Arena is in Vegas where Double or Nothing just took place.
Yeah.
But T-Mobile Center used to be the Sprint Center, and that's in Kansas City.
Every part of my brain wants to still call it the Sprint Center. This is what we did for like 15 years. But I've had to like hardwire it to say T-Mobile Center.
Oh, that's where we're at. We don't have the Pepsi Center anymore. We have Ball Arena, and I don't even know if they serve Pepsi products anymore. I wonder if just like out of spite they were like, no, we get Coke products in here now since Pepsi is no longer our namesake. But anyway, so let's start. We've had the
Well, the guy that manages the team in that arena. You know what he is, right?
Enos.
He's an Enos. You're an Enos. Enos.
What's funny is when I make references to things from 2009, I get reminded from because we have viewers and stuff. I know a couple that are like 17, right? And so in 2009, they would have been how long ago was that? 13 years ago. So they would have been 4, right? So then and so I hear that and I'm like, oh. And somebody asking, do the Avs win the Stanley Cup, Will? Well, I'll tell you, I hope so, because I'm going to my first ever Stanley Cup game with Jeremy Lambert, and I want that to happen.
Which is do we know which game in the series it is yet, or is it just tentative plans?
Tentative plans, I think. We were just or he just messaged me today. I haven't even responded to him.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jeremy. But I know that he was thinking about going to like game 2. But either way, it's exciting. It all depends, right? Because the Eastern Conference Series hasn't ended yet. No. So
I will tell you, as a disgruntled New York Islanders fan, I'm rooting for whoever it is, as long as it's not the Lightning. If the Lightning get a three-peat, I'm just done watching hockey. It's over.
Well, of course, you know me, big hockey fan. I've been watching hockey my entire life. I know all of the rules of hockey, definitely, and I'm not confused every time I watch a game. And I don't
all
have
you need to know is if it's really back and forth, just stand up and start chanting, "Skate forever."
Just the other day, I was just like, okay, I need to be reminded, what is a power play again? And I know now, but I did have to the other day. But anyway, so Tony Khan had announced on Busted Open this past Wednesday that, surprise, not only are we getting a battle royal, this is actually going to be a casino battle royale. And people were wondering, because we didn't get the Casino Battle Royale, as we kind of traditionally have at Double or Nothing. Although, people were saying, they were like, hey, isn't it traditionally at Double or Nothing? We didn't get one this year. But there's been 4 Double or Nothings, and only 2 of them had Casino Battle Royales. The second Casino Battle Royale was actually at All Out 2020. So, therefore, it's actually not really true. But either way, we did get the match, finally. It did take place on Dynamite. Casino rules. And the casino rules, of course, are that 5 people enter at a time. It starts with 5 people, and then we get another 5, and then another 5, and then another 5. And then once 20 people have entered, then we have the Joker. And who could the Joker be? We were to find out on this show. And so, if I remember correctly, the match opened up with who was already in the ring. I know Lance Archer was beforehand.
Daniel
He had
Garcia,
the last trip. That's
Tony
right.
Nese,
Yes.
Lance Archer were joined by Eddie Kingston and Darby Allin.
That's right. They got the first entrances after the pyro. So and they started the crowd off.
One of my biggest takeaways is how over Eddie Kingston is. I mean,
Yes.
I think it's beyond just wrestling fans loving to chant Eddie. I think it's beyond that because there was an Eddie Kingston chant later on in the show. So
yes.
I think people just love Eddie Kingston, and after watching him cut promos, it's obvious as to why. I mean, he's maybe the best in the business.
Yes, and there was great reaction for kind of everybody to start it off. I feel like fans were just really into it. I've always said, because I know the Casino Battle Royale has kind of mixed reviews in terms of the TV presentation. I've always said being at them live because I don't miss anything. Because the only gripes I've ever had with the Casino Battle Royale is that sometimes things get missed. I thought the women's Casino Battle Royale at the first All Out was really good, and I enjoyed it watching it. And then I went back, I looked on Twitter, and everybody was like, "Oh, that sucked." And I went back and watched it, and I'm like, they didn't even catch that B. Priestley and Britt Baker like brawled out of the Casino Battle Royale and then like into the crowd, and like literally I was warned by security right before the spot. They're like, hey, they're like about to come over this way, so can you like back up out of the way? And then they like brawled into the crowd. And I say all that because that is never shown on TV at all. None of that. Like, it completely missed all of that. And so I felt like as far as this one was concerned, I was like paying attention to like, what are the cameras actually catching? I wanted to make sure that previous Casino Battle Royales, one of the things that I noticed that they sometimes forget to do is like turn the cameras toward the entranceway so that you don't just have music and then somebody sliding in off screen. Like, you want to have that shot of somebody running down.
There was an oof at one point that I don't know if it was picked up by TV, but
it was. I watched it. Okay. Yeah. So there was one set. So when the second set hits of people, I know Ricky Starks was in that one.
Jake Hager, Ray Phoenix, Swerve, and Keith Lee.
Yes. Do you have it right in front of you?
I do.
Okay.
I do not have that much of a photographic memory.
I'm like, okay. I thought maybe you had the first ones memorized well, but then I'm like, no, there's no fucking way on this second set.
The show made that much of an impression on me.
Yes. But they had partners enter together, which was actually part of the story of the match later on. But yeah, you noticed with Ricky Starks' Tron had started and then his music started late, so I knew something was like off with the production. But then when the third set hits, this is completely fucked. They do the countdown, and they even showed it on the they have like a wide shot on screen of like the Tron, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then like the Dark Order Tron hits, but no music plays, and it like plays for like 15 seconds.
Yeah.
And then turns off, and then they just go back and do the countdown again. And this time the music actually plays, and we're like, oh yeah, Dark Order person. It turned out to be John Silver, but
pretends to be shocked.
Yes. So yeah, that was a little production snafu, but other than that, that all mostly worked out.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that set was, I know it was John Silver. I think both members of Red Dragon were in that set.
No, that was John Silver, Takeshita, and then Max Caster and the Ass Boys.
Oh, that's right. Okay, those are the three that entered in that one. Yeah, Max Caster, he cut his rap. And like, that's the thing, is his line on Patrick Mahomes got like huge heat in the arena. But and you were right, by the way, that was the offensive line in the crowd. They like, that was exactly what you said.
Looked like him. Yeah.
And sure enough, when I watched it on TV and they showed them on screen, it just said Kansas City Chiefs offensive line, and thought, okay, that was right.
Now, could that be considered tampering by Tony Khan?
Hey, well, I've got you here.
Yeah. No, I'm just joking. But
yeah,
another one of my biggest takeaways from the show, I love the acclaimed Gun Club like act. I mean,
yes,
it's funny. The line that Max Caster had about Patrick Mahomes was the first actual instance of heat on this entire show, because even throughout Dark Elevation tapings, everyone was cheered. I think the crowd was just happy to see everybody.
Yeah.
Like Private Party got cheered. Everyone got, the local talent got cheered. Everyone got cheered. But yeah, I love that act. I think it's hilarious.
Yeah, and the Ass Boys getting the cities wrong has actually been a great shtick, and it works every time. Mm-hmm. I forget, what did he say? They said, I know they dropped, it was St. Louis first, crowd booed, and then was it
Topeka?
Yeah, it was Topeka. Yeah, it was it. And
which,
they booed
let's be fair, probably deserved the booze.
I don't know why that is. What is it about Topeka?
I'll say no more.
Okay. All right. So
if you know, you know. The girls who know. The girls who don't. And if you don't, I honestly feel sorry for you. It's a TikTok reference. Anyway. I'm going to make a lot of TikTok references that will go right over your head.
Yeah, I don't spend enough time on TikTok. The only TikToks I get are the ones my wife sends me, and the ones she sends me are all like, "Hey, this describes you," and she sent me one this morning that was just what did it say? Hell, I'll even show you. She sent me one this morning that was like, when someone tells you to do something I was already planning to do, and like dude turns around with like angry expression, because I like do that all the time.
Yeah.
Like if I am like headed toward the trash can and I'm like bagging up the trash, she goes, "Hey, can you take the trash out?" I just have this look like,
"Excuse me?"
Yeah.
How dare you?
So either way, those are the only TikToks I ever watch. Otherwise, I'm like not on TikTok at all. Yeah, and everybody tells me
chronic TikTok brain.
And so the next group was, and this was the final group, right?
Yeah.
And you know what was interesting about this group? So I remember Red Dragon was in this group because I remember their music hitting and both members coming out. So like, what was really interesting to me was that none of the members of this group were even in the forefront of my mind as the winner, because like Kyle OReilly, are you kidding me? There's no way he's the winner. He came out with his partner. He didn't even get a solo entrance. And honestly, that threw me off in all the right ways.
Yeah. Other entrants in that group: Dante Martin, Wheeler Yuta, and Powerhouse Hobbs.
Yes, and this was the return of Wheeler Yuta, who's been in Japan for the last month. And so we got to see him back on TV. I think he's working the dark tapings. If those aren't today, those are tomorrow, right? I actually don't know the answer to that. Those are taping tomorrow.
At this point in the match, there was a lot of congestion. I mean, obviously, yes. But there had not been a lot of eliminations. A couple of the eliminations were interesting. They had Swerve eliminate Keith Lee, and then they had, which, I mean, could be leading to something, or it could have just been a spot. And then they had Swerve eliminate.
I guess
was it Ray Phoenix? No, that was. I'm not sure who he eliminated another. Oh, it was. Was it Darby Allin? He eliminated another crowd favorite.
Swerve eliminated Darby Allin. So, okay. I guess this is where I get to drop some inside baseball. As I'm not going to say too much, because I don't want to ruin the fun. It absolutely is going somewhere, in case you haven't paid attention on Twitter. But it is going somewhere. And it was purposeful to have, because the story they went with was, of course, Keith Lee had just tossed out both Ass Boys, and then they were being mocked by Swerve and Keith Lee, and then Swerve decides to eliminate Keith Lee. But there is a reason that wasn't just one of those like, you got me kind of spots, because there was a reason that they hung on the shot of Keith Lee looking angry and then hung on the shot of Swerve staring him down. There was something to that. And
I'm not related to anybody in this match, so I can tell you I don't have any inside information. But I do think it's interesting, because they could go one of two ways with it. I mean, they could have Swerve turn on Keith Lee, or they could have Keith Lee just upset about that perfectly normal and legal thing that happened in that match and freak out about it. Now, I would probably turn Swerve, because Keith Lee is very over. I mean, the Bask in His Glory chant is like one of the most, I mean, you hear it every single time he's on TV.
Yes.
But I think they could go one of two directions with it. I think it'll be interesting to see which one they go.
Well, I think what kind of cemented the direction they are heading was that it has been established on TV, and this is a real thing, by the way, that Swerve and Darby Allin are very close. They know each other quite well. They both came up in the in kind of the same scene. They're both well known in the Pacific Northwest. And I was pulling up a picture. Shout out to Darby Allin for taking a picture with Billy. And they talked skateboarding on Wednesday. And I've never seen Darby Allin perk up faster than I've ever seen somebody perk up when Billy was like, "I skateboard," and Darby's like, "Really?" And he's like, "Tell me about your skateboard." And Billy starts talking about his skateboard and how long he's been skateboarding, and Darby starts giving him tips, and it was a really cool moment. And Billy told Darby that he's the reason he started skateboarding, that he really just wanted to do Darby's entrance down our driveway. And this is a true statement, by the way, that Billy would start the song "I Fell" and he'd play it at the top of the driveway and then get on a skateboard and ride down around the same time where Darby would. So again, shout out to that. But again, that's been established on AEW TV. They mentioned it when they both had their match in the Owen qualifier. And we've got spammers in the chat. Let's just go ahead and ban those. So again, we've seen that these two are friends. So of course we see the spot where Darby and Swerve fist bump, and they decide they're going to work together in this match. And then they eliminate a number of people together. They work together. They get out Bobby Fish and all of that. And then Swerve does it again and throws Darby Allin out. And I think it's very clear at that point, if it wasn't clear that something was happening with Keith and Swerve, when he then does it again later in the match of like, hey, I've got another friend here that I just double crossed.
The
Should have
crowd
been
were fully into booing Swerve at that point.
Yes,
Like,
they were not happy with that, and it worked. I feel like it got over quite well. The Joker was the returning Andrade, which is interesting because as I want to say the Observer noted this week, or no, it's PW Insider. PW Insider noted this week, Charlotte's not scheduled to return, but Andrade's back after they both just got married. So oddly enough, of the two divisions that needed their person, I feel like SmackDown needs Charlotte a lot more than AEW needed Andrade back at this moment. So
I think that's a fair comment to make.
So I think it's interesting that that's who called their person back first.
But he was great in this match. I mean, he didn't look like he lost a step. He looked like the Andrade of old.
Yeah,
so.
He was great, and he got to be kind of the establishment person, because like as things started to wind down and there were elimination after elimination, kind of back to back. Wheeler Yuta got to kind of have the hope spot in this match. It came down to Wheeler Yuta and Kyle O'Reilly and Andrade. And Wheeler has the crowd behind him. They didn't forget for him being gone a month, but they didn't forget. They were really behind him. My brain kind of went one of two places. I'm like, I don't think they'll go with Andrade versus Mox yet, because I don't think they want Andrade coming freshly back like that to take a pin that soon. And so I was like, okay, this is Wheeler Yuta or Kyle O'Reilly. We've seen the Wheeler Yuta and Mox match 3 times already. There's nothing to do for a fourth. We've seen it. And granted, it was one of the best matches that Rampage has ever had, but I was like, I don't think it's happening. And so my brain goes, is it Kyle? Is it really Kyle? And I'm like saying, I'm sitting next to him. I'm like, I think Kyle O'Reilly's winning this. And sure enough, he did. He won.
Yeah.
Kyle O'Reilly wins. And like in hindsight, you go, oh, he does have some momentum, doesn't he? He just beat Jungle Boy, and then he beat Ray Phoenix, and then he beat Darby Allin at the pay-per-view. And so, it kind of makes sense. He did lose to Joe, but otherwise, he's had some wins under his belt. It does kind of make sense, and they have kind of been showcasing him as more of a singles guy than it's felt like. This is not cool Kyle, by the way. I think Kyle O'Reilly has been really solid as just showing, no, I can fucking go, and I am a pro wrestler.
No, it is not. It's not the air guitar Kyle O'Reilly from NXT, which again was great and had its own role, but he's definitely turned the dial down on the humor aspect of his in-ring stuff and his promo stuff, which, I mean, I'd like to see return someday, but he's definitely going for more of like a serious badass type of role.
Yeah.
And I think I was really excited to see that main event. I mean, I don't think I'd ever seen them lock up before.
I don't think they had.
Yeah.
So one thing that was cool here, as a matter of fact, was so after this match was over. And by the way, I give the entire Casino Battle Royale like a B-. I felt like this was one of the better Casino Battle Royales. I like the 2021 one as well, specifically speaking of the men's. But I thought this was really solid and gave us a winner that was out of left field, but also made the match that followed interesting. So
Yeah.
solid B minus for this.
I give it a B only because I'll slightly bump it up from where you had it just because of the unpredictability aspect of it. I think I've seen so many of these battle royals lately that have been completely telegraphed like
Yes.
3 weeks before they happen. So
Yeah, so this was cool. And then after, though, we got a promo from Jon Moxley backstage that, okay, look, I am sad to see CM Punk out right now, but this promo from Moxley made everything make sense to me. I feel like everything just kind of came together at once in this. And when I say that, I mean that Moxley... You know, when you think about the New Japan and AEW relationship, like, of course, New Japan, like Kenny Omega, of course, made a name for himself and solidified his presence in pro wrestling in New Japan. But it really feels like when you think about the AEW New Japan connection, nobody has bridged that over these last 3 years more than Jon Moxley. He is the guy who is the bridge between New Japan and AEW. He was the IWGP United States champion for a really, really long time. And he worked both at once. And so when he's cutting this promo and he says, I am the forbidden door, and that anything that happens from New Japan has to go through me. And it reminded me of the promo he cut last year going into All Out. And I thought, you know, obviously Punk was the Forbidden Door main event. It's in Chicago. It's at the United Center where Punk returned. But it makes the most sense for Jon Moxley to be the guy for this show. And as he cut this promo, I felt better. That was the first moment where I'm like, okay, this all makes sense. He needs to be the centerpiece of the Forbidden Door. He needs to be the main event guy. And I'm ready for it.
yeah, no, you never want to see an injury, but there is a story that they can tell that goes seamlessly. I mean, it would be pretty much an easier story to tell than I think Punk and Tanahashi.
Yeah.
So.
And especially because that's the match that Mox has been fighting for all this time was, I want Tanahashi, give me Tanahashi. And it was actually weird to think about. I said last week that how crazy would it be that Mox has been screaming for Tanahashi for the last year and we're not going to get it. And like circumstantially, we now end up getting it, and it wasn't even the original plan. So it's like everything just kind of has incidentally worked out, and that's kind of cool.
Some of the best things in wrestling history have happened because of injuries and things falling through. So,
yeah,
I mean,
Austin 316 says,
yeah,
I was not even going to be considered. Yeah. And so shout out Ricardo the Mark with the super chat says, let's talk about Bud, Matt, and Pac. I popped. I was excited to see this match. So one of the announcements that truly came out of nowhere, because like Tony Khan has also mentioned, he mentioned in an interview a little while back that he was asked about championships, and he said that he's got like 3 championships like sitting at home that he already had commissioned that he could deploy at any point. Now, I thought that was like an exaggerated thing because like obviously one of them he was talking about was the trios titles that are coming, but we just don't know exactly when. And another one, I'm pretty sure that Cody mentioned back when he was still in AEW that he wanted to see women's tag titles, but I think like 2 more women are necessary for that at least. And so I bet you that's one they're sitting on. And so the question was like, what's the other? Are these just ideas he's had? And then all of a sudden they announced the AEW All Atlantic Championship. Did not see this coming at all. I had no clue that's where this video package was going, where they started to talk about all the talent AEW's had, and there's one new championship coming. Maxwell Baumbach was always of the belief that you can't have too many championships as long as they represent something. And I'm a believer of that as well. He like very much swayed me and convinced me that that is the way to go. That they just need to represent something. That's it. I said on Twitter yesterday that I don't mind introducing new championships as long as they're for something. I think that the Ring of Honor titles have kind of muddied the situation because we have a lot of redundancy there, where like the Ring of Honor tag titles don't necessarily represent anything different than the AEW tag titles other than different companies, but like right now an AEW team has them, so we just have 2 tag titles. Whereas like the Pure title, that does represent something different. TV title, though, doesn't really represent something different at the moment than the TNT title. So there's some redundancy there. And I feel like this All-Atlantic Championship, when they announced the brackets for it and it's all international talent, and I thought, okay, this actually does represent something. It represents something different, and so therefore, I'm good with this. And first match is Pac versus Buddy Murphy.
Yeah, Buddy Matthews.
Buddy Matthews. Sorry.
Right.
Bud
No,
Matt.
That's okay. Muscle memory.
Muscle memory. That's the first time I've done that. My bad. Buddy Matthews. I'm sorry. And the funny thing was, when they changed his name in WWE, they dropped Buddy, and he was just Murphy. So, like, technically, Buddy and Matthews are unique names from his last WWE run.
Yeah.
But
I would say the revelation of the new title, I'm going to let it play out. My instinct is that visually, more than anything else, there are too many titles in AEW. I just think about people flipping channels, landing on it, seeing all of the ROH titles. Will Ospreay came out with the title later on in the show. The Owen Hart titles, I mean, obviously they're not going to be defended, but I just think visually there are too many people with titles for a 2-hour program or 3 hours of TV a week. The other thing that everyone's already pointed out is a lot of the countries that are represented are not in the Atlantic.
yes.
So it's an interesting choice of name for that title, but I'm going to let it play out. I mean, it could be a different type of title. I don't know the hierarchy right now. One of the biggest problems to me is that, and they had Wardlow even flat out say this later on, is the way they have, not they, but just the TNT title has kind of fallen a few steps over the last few title holders. I mean, they're openly acknowledging it on TV. I think they're going to try to course correct with Wardlow, but I mean, it's just putting together the hierarchy in your brain kind of is a little bit of a mental gymnastics.
Yeah. I will say this, though. So looking at the talent in this, I got excited because of the fact that everybody who's been announced for this are guys I would like to see fighting for something, and really haven't had the ability to, because the TNT title has kind of had its picture occupied. And so, like, Pac's been a day one guy. He is, even though he had a WWE career, he's considered an AEW original. But for the most part, he hasn't had anything to fight for. Malachi Black remains really over, but he has basically been in this feud with Death Triangle since, like, November. And it's fucking June. So, like, also, he needs something to fight for. And who else? Who else has got announced for it? And same with Penta. Yeah, Miro. Miro's another guy that you want to see fighting for something, and Ethan Page is somebody who you want to see fighting for something. And so these are all guys that, like, have needed something, and it's going to be nice to get to see them go and do what they do. And so when this was announced, I did actually, at first I had that same thought of, like, do they need another title? Then they showed the bracket, and I thought, yeah, they kind of do, because somebody did a ratio on Twitter, and I don't mean where you get a whole bunch more likes than somebody, but specifically did a talent to title ratio, and pointed out that there's 120 wrestlers on this roster, and so that's and having 5 titles to 120 wrestlers is actually still a pretty bad ratio. So it's either dwindle the roster down or give them more to compete for, and so not so bad.
And I think once ROH starts out, the picture will become a little bit more clear. Things will become there will be a little bit more breathing room. The other issue, as you pointed out immediately, you just turned to me and said, that's the women's title. That's just the AEW women's title with, like, a new center plate, basically.
Yes.
So it looks very visually similar to a title they already have.
Yeah, it's very clearly the same belt, with the modified design. But yes, this was Buddy Matthews' first AEW singles match. And one that people were excited for. First off, forgot how fucking ripped both of these guys are. And seeing them in the ring together is like, oh my god, what is happening here?
Look like action figures.
They look like action figures. But Pac and Buddy Matthews went out there. These two had never faced each other, and killed it. I thought that they went out there and did quite well with each other. these are guys you would kind of expect to do so. People were calling this like the 205 Live special, but like these guys were never 205 Live together. That Pac was the cruiserweight champion at one point, but that predated Buddy Murphy, and so
I would say any references to 205 Live to me would be when referring to these two would be good references because these two were highlights. They were great.
Yes.
I told you on Wednesday that there was a point where I thought Buddy Murphy was the best wrestler in the WWE. I thought when he was doing his stuff at 205 Live, I thought he was having the best matches in WWE. So I was this match itself, I was expecting a little bit more high flying. It was very much strike based, which is good. I liked it. I was just expecting a little bit more of the high flying aspect of it, but this was just brutal. They kicked the shit out of each other, and it was very good. It was was this the match with the reverse Hurricane Rana where
the Poison Rana
Pac landed straight on his head when he was going
no,
back. And
it was Buddy who landed there.
oh, right, okay. So I was a little concerned about that, but yeah, and then the Black Arrow to win, that was great.
Hey, I think we're being joined. So I see Jeremy popped up at the bottom.
William Washington, I'll see you next week.
Yeah. See, I just told the story at the beginning of the show that the Avalanche are going to the Stanley Cup, and therefore, did you figure it out yet? Where are we going? When are we going?
I DM'd you. I DM'd you, but next Saturday is either going to be game 1 or game 2. So if it is cool with you, Saturday we will either go to game 1 or game 2.
I'm down.
Okay, I didn't know if that was going to be an issue. I know you're a busy man. I didn't know if you're traveling. You're going to go to some GCW show or something.
I don't think your court appearance would be on a Saturday for your ticket. So
yeah. No, I think that I will. No, as a matter of fact, I don't have any more travel scheduled till Forbidden Door, and I did just get approved for all things Forbidden Door. Thank you, AEW. But so I will be at Forbidden Door, but other than that, I have no more travel coming up until then. I say that like that's a long time from now, but that's literally in like 3 weeks. So yeah.
Well, next Saturday.
That's 2 weeks from. Yeah, that's 2 weeks from this this Sunday.
Well, next Saturday you'll be at the Colorado Avalanche Stanley Cup playoff game. I assume tickets will go on sale whenever it's all finalized, but we'll work that out as well. And yes, we'll figure it all out. And I'll see you next week, Will.
See you next week.
Matt, it is nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Go Avs. Beat the Lightning, please. I hate the Lightning.
Oh man. So
if they face the Lightning, you don't know.
Could be.
They're going to face the Lightning.
Probably.
New York can make a comeback.
Maybe. Doubtful, though.
Very doubtful. Very doubtful, honestly.
We'll see. I bet it goes to Game 7. I think it goes to Game 7.
Really? I don't know if New York can win on the road. They have not won on the road like all postseason. I don't know if they can win on the road. In Tampa,
they beat Carolina on the road in Game 7. I believe
they did win that Game 7,
but
and they did win. They won like 1 in Pittsburgh, I think.
Yeah.
Well, Game 6.
I mean, again, as an Islanders fan, I don't want to see the Rangers win the Cup either. So I'm just all in on the Avalanche. So
yeah, there we go. I like it. Hopefully my trip to Colorado is with purpose, and it's not to go out there just to watch them lose the Stanley Cup final game. But even if it is, I get to see Will. I finally get to go to a game after 25 years, and if it all means they win in the end, I'm fine with that as well. That's all I care about. Just win in the end. That's all
good. Thank you for the weekly cameo, Jeremy.
Yes. Thank you. You guys take care. Enjoy the review.
Thank you
guys. Thank you for everything, Will. Bye.
See ya.
And you can watch more of Jeremy right here on Fightful Overbooked and on Main Fightful as well. That said, so yeah, it was Buddy who took the Poison Rana, and then that led to taking the Black Arrow. 1, 2, 3. This was a solid A match for me, mainly because I like seeing these guys. I like seeing them compete. I'm a big fan of Pac. I know Pac's travel schedule keeps him from being able to be at every show because he still lives overseas. And so this isn't like pre-pandemic where he could just travel back and forth every week. There's some having to stay down.
Yeah, I'm going to give this match another B. I did enjoy it a lot. I do think that Pac is a babyface right now, correct?
Yes.
But he's still very brooding. A lot of scowls. Not that I need them to do that WWE Ronda Rousey walk out, look
Smile and wave.
lobotomized, like have a completely dead expression with a big smile. But it is, it was tough to really, I don't know if I feel personally like anyone else feels this way, but it's tough to like get fully behind Pac because he's still a bastard. I mean, it's a lot.
But
he might be our bastard.
Yes,
so,
he is our bastard, and I think being tied to Death Triangle and everything also helps. But he is a full-on babyface in the moment. And then I don't even remember what was next. Was it Finlay and
we actually had a couple promos. We had Eddie Kingston cut a backstage promo.
That's right. And you know what? I love Eddie Kingston's fourth wall stuff. I think he's very good about that. And of course, he opens the promo with, "They're gonna give me 60 seconds. I'll do it in less," and then starts going off and like he remarks on the stage director noting he was like, "What? You're gonna give me one of these? I know what this means. It means 30 seconds. I know TV."
Yeah.
And
there's a moment on Rampage too. I think they'll keep it in where you will see him break the fourth wall again, basically at the beginning of his. It has to do with the intro of Rampage and his frustrations with that. So, yeah, check that out.
Yeah, it was great. I really enjoyed that. What was the other promo?
Trent Beretta came to the ring.
Yeah, Trent was in the ring. And what is Trent doing here? As apparently JR even asked on Fight TV that wasn't supposed to be heard, but he's like, "Whoa, what is Trent gonna come out and talk about?" And so Trent made his way to the ring, and Trent addresses that on National Best Friends Day, none of his best friends are here. Rocky Romero's over in Japan. Chuck Taylor's been at TV, but I guess on screen right now, he's not necessarily affiliated with Trent right now. Orange Cassidy is out with injury, and so Trent's by himself, but he does address that he had that tag match just a couple weeks ago, which felt weird because they show the clip from it on the Tron, and I'm like, I was at that show too. Did I really go to like Dynamite? I almost went 3 straight weeks because I was going to go at the Forum. I had the tickets to go, but I chose not to. But I could have gone to 3 straight weeks of television. But I did go to Double or Nothing, so I still went to Dynamite, Double or Nothing, and then a week later I was in Independence, Missouri. But it was just weird seeing all of that, and I was like, I was there for this. So
yeah, you could have bought the I Was There shirt at all 3 of the shows.
I could have.
Table.
Did they have those I Was There shirts?
They did. That was a slight bit of criticism. I thought the merch selection was really poor. They only had, I think, 3 individual wrestlers represented with shirts. Adam Cole, CM Punk, and I don't remember the third. They didn't have any women's wrestlers that I could tell represented with shirts. No Sting, no Darby Allin at the lone merch stand. So a lot of AEW specific merchandise. But I realize they have a huge roster. You can't represent everyone, and they do have a website that you can purchase from. But I felt like it was a little lacking.
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of it is the relationship with 1 Hour Tees, who makes their shirts, because AEW doesn't like pre-print shirts, right? All of it is done through 1 Hour Tees. It's all made on demand, and so but I think they should have a much better selection of stuff that is pre-made. A Shock asks, how would you book Swerve as a heel? Question to the chat. Oh, you weren't asking me, you were asking the chat. But you know what? I know how I would do it, but
would it mirror? I mean, much of his career has been spent as a heel. Would it mirror what we've seen before? Or
well, what's interesting is that that's not really the case. Like, I know like WWE turned him heel when he won the North American title last year, but for the most part, because that's one of the things I commend him for, is the fact that he does connect with audiences so well, and that he hasn't necessarily needed to work a heel. People have really loved him for the most part, and like he really got to explore some heel character sides of himself as far as getting that hit row run. But I think this is just my hunch. A good glimpse at what you'll see from Swerve as a heel. Let me look up and see if it's available. It is. Okay. So, back at Defy 50 on February 26, 2022, Swerve worked a match against Nick Wayne, the 16-year-old signee to AEW. Those two had a match for Defy. Watch that match. I think that is what you're going to see of Swerve as a heel. I think if you were to see what he could do as a heel character, working kind of as a lone heel, just kind of doing kind of sick, sadistic shit, watch that match with Nick Wayne. And I think that's kind of an idea of what he'll do.
So you would keep him on his own?
I would, yeah. I wouldn't... because I honestly didn't think that... I don't know. I've expressed my opinions publicly on Hit Row. I think Hit Row was a good like dog and pony show for him, but I think ultimately Hit Row, I think, lost the plot when they decided to try and treat them as equals, because they're not. And I mean that from the sense that, look, Swerve's been wrestling 13 years, and if you combine the experience between all of them, they didn't get half of what Swerve has had as a pro wrestler, and I thought presenting them as equals was a bad idea. And like I said, I felt like that's where it lost the plot. But anyway, and sorry that I'm being corrected. Nick is 17 now. Sorry,
shame on you.
I'm still used to the idea. He's still the youngest dude in the friggin' business, and has a lot of upside. So watch that match if you've never seen it. Swerve. Just look up literally Swerve Strickland, Nick Wayne from Defy 50, and you'll get an idea of.
Yeah.
And Alan in the chat says he watched that show live. It was sick. Again, like I said, like him torturing Nick Wayne in front of his mother. Like I feel like that's a lot of what you would see from him as a heel.
That sounds like Brock Lesnar, Zach Gowen-esque.
Yes, that kind of like I said, I feel like you'll get a good idea of what he could bring to the table as a heel in AEW.
Yeah.
So Trent interrupted by FTR, who agrees that he should have had his that they wanted a clean finish, that they felt ashamed that they didn't get it, and then Will Ospreay's music hits. And I thought, there's no way he's like actually here. But I'm sure they're like dropping a hint or something. No, he just makes his way out to the ring.
Just there he is. Yeah,
yeah. He just hits
people
the
have
stage.
talked about being a part of AEW since day one, or like speculated about. He's just there.
He just is. He's just crowd's chanting "Holy shit!" And then Aussie Open, Aussie. Sorry. Australians don't hurt me. Aussie Open. They then attack everybody in the ring. They do a beatdown, and Forbidden Door is open. Well, Ospreay is just suddenly here.
Yeah. No, I mean, this was the newsworthy thing from this show.
Yeah.
Who knows how long the relationship will last, if it will go beyond Forbidden Door, or if this is just a vehicle to get to a match at Forbidden Door. But it was surreal seeing Will Ospreay as part of AEW, or doing any kind of capacity with AEW, and they will have a 6-man tag on Rampage.
Yeah, this was insane. And yeah, there's a 6-man tag on Rampage. We got to see it. But and then of course the Sunday is Dominion, and I feel like once Dominion passes, then all of a sudden they're kind of able to establish more for the card. Like, I think we are going to get Okada on Dynamite. The question is just when. And I think that probably could happen as soon as this coming Wednesday or the Wednesday after, but we're not going to see it till after.
Right.
And yeah, I don't know. But Orion Ben in the chat says that Will's been talking for months, seeing him on the AEW stage, jaw dropped. I was in the fucking arena, and a guy behind me is just like, he's not here. He's not actually here. Like, oh my fucking God, he's here. Everybody's going crazy.
Freaked out. He lost it.
Yeah. He was going crazy.
Could not believe it. Yeah, it was the biggest stunner from this show. For
yes, sure. Easy. And it was a cool moment. After that, we had David Finlay.
Promo, actually. Kyle OReilly backstage with Tony Schiavone
and William Regal.
And they did make allusions to the NXT years, the mentorship between all of them, and William Regal basically just saying, hey, like, you're going to get your head caved in today, and it's going to be sad for me to see that from commentary. And Kyle, I thought, had a great promo, just a good fiery promo about why he came to AEW and what he's going to do. So I definitely was a fan of that segment. Again, it's part of the thread throughout the show promoting to the last segment. So
and the thing is, one thing I loved is, again, just what Kyle's brought to the table so far. I think he's been very different than he has been presented previously. When he first came in, I was okay with him being put back in Red Dragon, but I thought it was interesting that he did choose that when, like, he actively chose not to sign with WWE. He chose to leave, chose to jump ship, and so did Adam Cole. The only one that was released was Bobby Fish. Bobby Fish was just cut. And so I said all that to say that, what was the motivation for Kyle OReilly? Was he coming to do a solo run, or was he coming to be back with Bobby Fish? I'm okay with either, but I thought it would be interesting for him to give up kind of the solo dreams, I guess. But that doesn't appear to be the case. I think he's going to actively do both, but it seems like right now they're more so pushing him toward a solo run, even though he is coming out to the Red Dragon music. And the Red Dragon music that they've had since forever. That song in itself is quite old. I think
it is brainworms. I've had it in my head for 48 hours since the show, and it's not. I don't even classify it as good music. It's just maybe because it gets stuck in your head, it is good music. But I like that about it too, because like I feel like that's one of the few like truly memorable ROH themes. In that it did stick out. I think Adam Cole's was too. I was surprised he didn't have something for you when he came in, but I like his theme as well. Yeah.
That said, Adam Cole did come out to the ring. Not to the ring. He came out and did commentary, but he had his entrance. Speaking of which, he's apparently injured at the moment. He has a torn meniscus, as Fightful reported this week. But Adam Cole comes out to commentary for David Finlay. As JR notes, the son of one of the toughest men to come out of Ireland, Fit Finlay. And I think he was just excited to know that, like, look down at his notes and go, oh, thank goodness. Like, somebody, I can relate to somebody I know. Mm-hmm. And so he's able to put all that out there. But David Finlay faces Hangman Adam Page, a man who the AEW audience just has a sense of loyalty to.
Yeah. Any kind of illusions that they were doing about him potentially turning throughout the CM Punk feud, the will he, won't he with the belt at the end of the pay-per-view, I think that's all in the rearview mirror. The crowd was fully into him. I didn't hear any kind of mixed reaction. He was one of the most popular guys on the show. He worked the match fully like a babyface, and it was great. So I think that it'll be. I'm very interested to see where they go from here with him, and if it's Okada, then that's fantastic, and I think that'll slap.
Yeah, Meltzer says that they're going with a three-way with Okada, Adam Cole, and Adam Page.
I don't know how I feel about that. I would probably just do a single.
I wonder if, because like they got to get Cole on this card because Cole had such a presence in New Japan that it would make sense. But if he is hurt, then I can see them probably trying to find a way to put him in a match that could still showcase him but reduce his in-ring usage. So like a three-way would kind of do that.
Find some kind of a six-man tag that they could put him. It goes from being a dream match to just an intriguing match, I think, whenever you make it a 3-way.
Well, Max says, I'm probably alone on this. I would rather see an Okada and Page versus Cole and White tag match at Forbidden Door than a 3-way for the IWGP title. Yeah, I could see that, especially when you think about the fact that Cole did bring up on his promo after the fact that he brought up he wants to see Jay White win the title this Sunday because Jay White is his close friend, and porn bots are back. I'm sorry, chat. They seem to really love this show, apparently.
That's how you know your show has made it.
Yes.
But no, this was a fantastic match.
You're right. Chat's correcting, by the way. It was a torn labrum. My bad.
Okay. I was really impressed. Finlay obviously mixed in a few of his dad's spots throughout this match. It doesn't really look. I mean, I when they introduced him as from Atlanta, I was like, "What?" And then it made sense to me. Obviously.
Yes.
But no, this was just another good, solid, competitive back and forth match. I like these singles matches that Adam Page is having on Dynamite that aren't necessarily part of the story, although this is part of the Forbidden Door story that they're telling. I just think it's a great way of getting one of your best wrestlers out there and being able to elevate guys. I think he's done that quite a bit, but Hangman did win with the buckshot lariat.
Yes. And then he cut a promo and addressed the fact that he lost the title just over a week ago. And he addressed that he wasn't in the Battle Royal, but he does want a world championship, specifically the IWGP championship, and he called out Okada, and then that's when Adam Cole said that he wants his hands on the world title, but also that, you're calling out Okada, but I think it's going to be Jay White. We'll see. We've got, is the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship on its way back to the Bullet Club? Guess we'll find out on Dominion this Sunday.
Yeah, I thought, again, I get that he and Britt Baker are heels, but seeing them cut promos about, because I believe on Rampage there's a Britt Baker promo about the Women's Championship. Seeing them cut promos about other people not being champions while they tout being champions with the Owen Hart title, which, I mean, maybe it's an allusion to Owen Hart walking around with the Slammies, which you obviously don't defend, but again, too many titles. In my opinion, just too many titles. But yeah, I mean, I like Adam Cole. I think he did a good job cutting this promo, but I probably would not have inserted him into this program, especially if he's hurt.
I think more so, it's not so much inserting him into this program for me. I think it's more like, God, this feels like it's been going on forever. It feels like we've been staring at Adam Cole and Adam Page at it pretty much this entire year, and like you beat him pretty decisively in a last man standing match, or Texas Death Match, which is an AEW last man standing match. I feel like that was pretty decisive. I thought we were done with this, but it doesn't look like we are.
And they have basically rehabilitated Adam Cole since then. Not that he needed it; it was a world title program, but I mean, he has as much momentum, obviously, as anybody in the company.
Yeah, and so match itself got a B for me. I enjoyed the match.
I give it a B-. I think it was another good match. A lot of very good stuff on this show, but nothing, in my opinion, yet that rose to the great level.
Okay, what was next on the show? Because you have the results.
This was Wardlow being interviewed by Tony Schiavone.
And stuff we didn't see. There was stuff we didn't see in the arena, by the way, that I didn't see till I watched it on TV. Yeah, so, okay, Wardlow comes out to the ring. He's brought out by Tony Schiavone. And by the way, the chat is asking, we saw Girl Power Wow says, speaking of music, I thought Wardlow was getting new music. I thought I told this story on, did I tell it on Day After Dynamite? I do so many podcasts each week, I don't know which shows I tell stories on anymore. But I do know that Wardlow had complete music. It is done. It was set to his. They even have a Tron. It's set to the new Tron that he comes out was made for his new music. And I know that when they did the run through, it was either Tony Khan or Wardlow didn't like the new music, and they decided about an hour before last week's show to kill it and go back to the old theme.
Yeah.
And that decision has stuck apparently this week still.
I think it would cost them probably way too much money, but I would love to see them get the rights to War Pigs.
I keep hearing that, but
yeah, I mean, and obviously wasn't the last pay-per-view just sponsored by or had music from Ozzy Osbourne for WWE? I think Hell in a Cell did, so that might be tricky to work your way into that relationship. But I think it would it'd fit. He tweeted about it. I think it'd be great.
And so
I thought his logic about why he wasn't in the Battle Royal was the best they could have done. I thought it was good logic. He wants to beat CM Punk.
I mean, I've seen some arguments against that. I heard that somebody said, but they've already confirmed the interim champion has to face CM Punk. So this actually would have been your fastest road to facing CM Punk.
But he made it. He was pretty explicit about wanting to pin or make CM Punk submit to become the champion for the first time. So I mean, if the alternative to me is putting him in the Battle Royal, which his resume would have said he deserved, then he would have had to have been eliminated.
Yes, and I don't think you want to do that either.
No.
Yeah, so because I think this has to be Moxley. Like Wardlow really has no ties to New Japan, and so he doesn't really fit any story that you could tell with the Forbidden Door right now. It's a Moxley story right now. So I get kind of why Moxley has to be the one to win, and you didn't want to put Wardlow in a position to have to lose to Moxley or get eliminated in the Battle Royal so soon after getting to finish the MJF story. And then he calls out Scorpio Sky and says that he wants the TNT title, that he won the Face of the Revolution ladder match, and he had the match won before MJF cost him the match back in March. So therefore now he is coming back for his title that he feels he rightfully earned.
Yeah, and Scorpio Sky ran out but was stopped by Dan Lambert and Ethan Page, and they said basically we'll fight you on our time. But did you find it interesting that they on the show basically acknowledged or took digs at Sammy and Scorpio and that whole situation with
It's weird that everybody's taking shots at it. Like Sammy even on his own vlog was like, thank God that feud's over. And it's like, but you lost. Who would say that? Logically. But they were kind of even alluding in the build-up when Scorpio was like, I'm sick of this. I'm sick of all of this. If I beat you, you never get another shot again. And like it really felt for a time like they were addressing the fact that fans weren't happy with it. I don't know if it was productive to really do that. I feel like there were other ways around it. But yeah, they did acknowledge that people haven't necessarily liked the direction of the TNT title.
Mm-hmm. And next week, Wardlow will take on 20 security members, which I think is hilarious. I love that.
So that was what we missed, was that they go backstage to... which is weird, because I was wondering why they were stalling so long in the ring. Like, what is Wardlow doing? But apparently it's because on screen they cut backstage to... So we didn't see this in the arena, by the way. But they cut to Mark Sterling. Mark Sterling announces that... not so fast, Wardlow. You think you're just going to get a TNT Championship match right now? Well, that's not going to happen because I have the class action suit against you, and these fine men behind me, surrounded by security, have all decided that they want to face you in a 20-on-1 elimination match, is what they said.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a little goofy. And but I'm okay with it. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how you exactly. I mean, will it be done gauntlet style, or will it just be a mob of 20 people attacking him at once, and he just basically hulks his way through the entire match?
Yes.
Then we had a promo by the Young Bucks.
Oh yeah, and this is the one that I was talking about. Was possibly
shot in California.
Yes, shot in California. And
the Young Bucks basically recapped their great week last week and said that they deserve to be number one contenders. The Hardy Boys interrupted them and said that they beat them at Double or Nothing and deserve to be number one contenders. Then Christian walks in with Jurassic Express and just opts them into a triple threat ladder match next week on Dynamite, which you could see both members of Jurassic Express looking at Christian like, why do you keep putting us in these matches where we could be defeated and not be defeated and lose the titles? So
Yes.
again, they're subtly moving in that direction. It feels like it's the slowest burn of anything that they've done in AEW in a long time. I do like it though. I am not sure exactly where it's headed, but I think the end game is Christian as a heel. I think they've had, at the pay-per-view when they had Jungle Boy run out and check on Christian after he got thrown into the steps, I thought that was going to lead to them losing their titles.
That's what I thought too,
like
but
a moment of weakness because of his loyalty to Christian. But I don't know when it'll happen. I don't think it'll be next week. I think Jurassic Express will win, but I could be wrong. And a lot of people have been. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I don't know. Where are you going with this?
I was just going to say, what are your thoughts on putting Jeff Hardy and to a lesser extent Matt Hardy in a ladder match after the last few weeks of just the toll?
I think in an odd way, it almost kind of protects them more so because like in a three-way situation, there's less they have to do, and if all Jeff has to do is like, a couple of spots more so than like working a full-on match, that's probably more up his alley than anything else.
They would know more than I would, obviously, what they're capable of and what they can handle, but it is scary after the Darby match so soon. And
it's funny. So somebody in the chat, and this is how much this fucking threw me off, said, so bro in the chat says, and I guess this is breaking news for anybody who's not paying attention out to anything outside of this show, but bro in the chat said, oh wow, Paige did leave. And let me tell you, there are so many people named Paige that my brain went, wait, did Ethan Page leave? Paige Van Zandt? I was like Hangman Adam Page? Yeah, and I'm like
WWE?
Yeah, like Paige Van Zandt. And no, it was Paige left WWE.
Okay.
And so but that's what distracted me over here was I'm like, wait, what Paige?
Which page? Too many pages.
Yeah, I had no idea what Paige actually left anywhere. And Paige posted thank you WWE and announced her departure from the company.
Can I tell you, like, I believe that she is one of the best on-air authority figures that WWE ever had, and the fact that they didn't go longer with that. Like, all of her segments backstage, in my opinion, when she was in that role on SmackDown, were money, and I thought that she was just genuine, and I thought like the prototypical babyface authority figure. Yeah, I
liked her too, and I was very disappointed when they did that segment with all the McMahons that they already talked about. We haven't been listening to you, but so the McMahons are taking back over. We're like, no, Paige was the one we didn't have a problem with. Like
they just like dismissed her backstage on SmackDown and like
I'm like, okay, from just even an on-screen character perspective, we weren't seeing Paige as the problem. That's not what people were saying. Right. And that didn't really make any sense. But and then they paired her with the Kabuki Warriors. Like, that didn't really make any sense either. So, yeah.
I'm interested to see where she goes and what kind of a role she'll have. Mm-hmm. But that kind of plays well into the next match.
Yes. Title. So Thunder Rosa had a match against Marina Shafir, a match that was announced on Twitter earlier in the day. We saw Thunder Rosa backstage with Tony Schiavone, and she says that she wants, she's issuing an open challenge to anybody. And I have a big problem with this segment because Marina Shafir walks what couldn't have been more than 3 feet off screen. Like, she walks in way too quickly after she says, I'm issuing an open challenge. Like, I'm literally picturing Marina Shafir just like doing I don't know what you could have been doing.
Just like an NPC. Just like
but like as soon as Thunder Rosa says, I have an open challenge for the women's title, and then I'm just picturing like Paige Van Zandt just like eating her lunch and is like, really? And like turns around and just is immediately in the shot. She's like, well, if you have an open challenge. Yeah. What did I say?
Paige.
Oh, really? Marina. Yeah, so we're talking about Paige. Still. No, and then, Marina Shafir walks into the shot and I'm like, what the hell?
She was just standing by with a Subway sandwich, just like waiting for her to announce an open challenge.
Mm-hmm. I feel like that's got to be a thing, right? Where like people just hang around Thunder Rosa promos, and it's like, hey, as soon as she issues that open challenge,
Just like peeking through the plants in the back. Just like,
yeah. And so we got that match. We got that match.
it was a little clunky. It was a little.
This wasn't any good. No, I didn't enjoy this at all. And the crowd was into Thunder Rosa. You know, as soon as her music hits, crowd loves her. They were chanting Thunder Rosa at the start of the match. This is the second time I've now seen Marina Shafir live, and I don't think this is working.
Yeah. But which is interesting because they kind of kept it going after it was over. Thunder Rosa won clean, and
I mean, I think that was just to establish the Tony Storm run in, to give her a reason to come down.
Sure.
But yeah, I
would give it a C minus. It was a little too clunky for my liking.
You're nicer than me. I went D on this. Something is not clicking with Marina Shafir. I don't know what it is. I think that she had a good match with Jade Cargill for sure. I think that title defense number 30 was better. But something is just not clicking with Marina. And at least I would personally at least cut bait at this stage. I don't know if that means turn her or do something else, but at this stage, I don't feel... I mean, she is a heel anyway. I don't know. Something's not clicking.
Yeah. So after the match, as you said, she was attacked by Marina, and Tony Storm made the save. She said, "Oh, no, you don't." She held the title before giving it over to Thunder Rosa, so they kind of hinted at that. Can I reference something that happened on Rampage? Do you care?
Sure.
So they do have a promo with Britt Baker, and she gives an interesting line. She said, "I want the title, but I think the title needs me more than I need the title."
Yeah, no, she said, "I missed the title, but I think the title's missing me more."
Which was a biting criticism.
Yes.
And I mean, I don't know if you say that at this point. I think Thunder Rosa is still finding her footing, but they definitely don't shy away from acknowledging elephants in rooms.
Yes, they do not.
Yeah.
And then we had a backstage segment with the baddies, right? That was next.
Promoting the match on Rampage.
Promoting the match on Rampage, which, by the way, is very good. I think
I will tell you my biggest takeaway from Rampage was how good Red Velvet is, and so I would tell everybody to go out of your way to watch that match. It slaps.
Yeah, Red Velvet and Chris Statlander, very good. And hopefully all is good coming out of that match. But it was great. And yeah, also Stokely had me dying. Like, Stokely's so good, and I am ready for the references that he gets to drop on this show, because it just get to be Stokely Hathaway, but also just getting to put over three amazing women. I was so happy seeing this group together. Stokely had me cracking up. Great shit. But then we get to the main event. Who's challenging for the AEW Interim World Championship? Kyle OReilly or Jon Moxley? He claims he is the Forbidden Door. And Jon Moxley and Kyle OReilly, I thought, went out there and had a banger. I thought they did. I thought that they just had a really solid main event match that... You know, the story, of course, was that Jon Moxley is going to fucking kill this guy. But for the most part, Kyle OReilly hung in there, and he out-wrestled Jon Moxley as much as he humanly could before Jon Moxley got the best of him. But I thought this match was great.
Yeah, it was much like Pac and Buddy Matthews. It was very strike-oriented, which, again, you would expect going into it. There was a really cool spot where Kyle broke a submission by biting the ropes. I thought that was yes. Cool. There was also another part where they're just beating the shit out of each other, and then they just kind of like lay on each other, like on their knees for a few seconds. I thought that was really good. They clearly were just destroying each other. And at the end, just spiking him with the paradigm shift and getting the victory. I thought that was great. I thought that Is it weird to say that I enjoyed John Moxley and Garcia last week a little bit more? I thought that match, maybe my expectations were lower for that match.
I think that match told a better story, because I think that last week's match was about the fact that the last time we saw Moxley face Daniel Garcia, it was a squash, and John Moxley going for everything that he had gone for, because that happened on the CM Punk episode, the First Dance, the show where Punk debuted. The main event was Moxley and Daniel Garcia, but it was all really quick. And Moxley went for all of the things that he has previously taken down Daniel Garcia with, but Daniel Garcia had counters at every turn. And so I like that match as a story because it was just a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But for the most part,
You like this match better?
Yeah, I like this match. No, I like this match well as a back and forth, as a really talking with two guys I could believe would be a title contender. And I think Kyle showed out as being a potential title contender, but ultimately this was the match for John Moxley, and he is possibly your next AEW Interim World Champion.
Yeah, I like that this match, again, one of my issues sometimes with AEW and Dynamite is it feels like the end of the show can be rushed. It seems like their timing can sometimes be off. Maybe it's because they didn't have Jericho this week cutting a promo, but they had plenty of time for this match. The pacing was not off at the end. They had all the time that they needed to do their full match and not rush home. I would give this match a B+. I think it was solid. I think it was the best thing on the show.
This was an A for me. I just had a lot of fun with it, and I'm really liking the direction of Kyle OReilly in that he is coming off as somebody who can hang. And so, yeah, enjoyed it. And overall, I enjoyed this episode of Dynamite. I think when you consider everything that was missing from it, that it didn't have Bryan, it didn't have Jericho, and I think you're right about the Jericho promo thing, by the way, and of course, there was no Punk, and so there were things to have to make up for it, and I think that they filled it quite well. And the Battle Royal really found a way to use multiple people to tell multiple stories, and as you mentioned, get to thread the show throughout. So yeah, I enjoyed this Dynamite overall. The question is, now, of course, this is the thing I do on the show on Thursdays, but I have to pretend like I don't already know. What were the ratings of this show? Let's see.
I don't know. I legitimately don't know. I haven't seen it, so...
Well, I'm pretty certain that the episode did, I don't have it in front of me, but I think it did like 939. Let's see.
And I don't remember, was it up against any NBA?
It was up against the NBA Finals.
Oh, right.
And because that's the point I was going to make. Was I right? 939. I was spot on. So the show did 939. And... I think its biggest accomplishment, more than the solid number, because that number is down from last week, but otherwise up against the NBA Finals was fine. But I think the thing that Tony's hanging his hat on, and he should hang his hat on it, and Warner Media as a whole, or Warner Brothers Discovery as a whole, should hang on to this, is that it was the number one show on cable TV this past week, or this past Wednesday, that it beat everything else it was up against. And not just that, but it was also, if I'm not mistaken, the number 2 show on all of television, that it beat everything on network TV. The only thing it didn't beat was the NBA Finals, but number 1 on cable, and then right behind ABC. So really great number for them. I really like to look at the year over years, but I feel like people who don't, or at least are reading them in bad faith, we're looking at last month's year over years, and we're like, oh, look, all the shows are way down. Somebody's in trouble. And that's because I don't think they realized the NBA playoffs last year were in June, whereas this year they were in May. So that's why now, if you're looking at the year over years, June looks astronomically high because they don't have playoffs to be up against. It's literally just one series. It's the finals. And I think June's going to look way weird until next year when your year over years can balance out.
So you think there might be some bad faith stuff just on the other end of like, look how much it's up year over year.
Yeah.
Just people not contextualizing at all.
Right. No, people aren't contextualizing. They're just like, look, it's up way year over year. As if, and it's going to be like really absurd for AEW because not only was AEW up against the NBA playoffs last year, it was also preempted by the NBA playoffs because they were still on TNT at the time. It was preempted literally every week in June, where they were just off Wednesdays. Remember, they were doing the Friday Night Dynamites every week, and they were late because they were coming out after SmackDown. They were doing Friday Night Dynamite every week in June, and they did that one Saturday Dynamite, but they were just completely off. So that's it. That's it for Day After Dynamite. Matt Galloway making his first appearance here on a Fightful property on Day After Dynamite. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Will. It was a pleasure seeing you on Wednesday, and I have to tell you, do you want to share what your son said as we were leaving the arena about the music that they played, the wrap it up music?
Oh yeah. That was funny. So yeah, if you've been to an AEW show and you stick around long enough, at the end of the show they always play the Looney Tunes "That's All, Folks" at the end, and Billy goes, "Do they play this because it's Warner Brothers?" And I was like, "Huh." I would not have put that together at 8 years old, no.
But it is something you would think. Like when you said that, I was like, that is a Willism.
That absolutely is. Yeah, so that is just our brains work very similarly. Thank you, son, for bringing that up. It worked out. Either way, I thought this was a fun Dynamite. Next week is Road Rager. It's weird that it's not at the same time as last year's Road Rager. I also don't necessarily know what Road Rager even means this year, because the whole point of Road Rager last year is that it was the first Dynamite back on the road after being at Daly's place for a year and a half.
It means a make good to St. Louis.
Yes, it's just like a name and a reason to get to use the 80s graphics, because I like that 80s theme that they do for that show. Because it's the same. It's the graphic set from Bash at the Beach, which they can no longer use because Cody sold the trademark back to WWE in exchange for getting the name Cody Rhodes, and then signed with WWE a year later. So they got everything in all of that. But yeah, so it's the same graphic set for Bash at the Beach, but now it's Road Rager. But yeah, I just feel like Road Rager made sense when it's like, we're back on the road. That's the idea they're selling here, is that it is the road. Yeah. And then I thought Road Rager was the go home to Forbidden Door and Blood and Guts, but it's not. There's also a Dynamite in between there, the Milwaukee show. So they've got St. Louis this week, then Milwaukee, and then Forbidden Door in Chicago, and then Detroit gets Blood and Guts.
Well, if you decide to go to St. Louis on the spur of the moment decision, then please pick me up as you pass through Kansas.
Definitely not going to St. Louis. Cher's going. So shout out Cher Delaware. She'll be there. She was also at the. She technically lives in Illinois, but I mean, it's a stone's throw from St. Louis. I think that's actually her closest major city.
Yeah, there is literally a St. Louis, Illinois. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't know the Midwest like that, man. Well, that's
you should. You don't have an excuse. You don't live on the East Coast, so you should know flyover country very well.
I will say, I ended up, speaking of flyover country, so I ended up while driving stopping at a very flyover restaurant in a very flyover town. It was just like, okay, I'm starving. I just Googled the word pizza, and I found this restaurant in the middle of nowhere in Kansas, and it was like a really small town. Black guy walking in, like there were multiple guns on hips, by the way, so I'm just like, I just want to get my pizza and get out of here. But pizza was very good.
Good. Happy to hear.
But no, I'll tell you my relief though. My relief being in this small town, only black guy in town, only black guy I could see. Because the restaurant was kind of packed. It was like, this was clearly one of those restaurants where it's like, okay, this is where everybody in the neighborhood brings their family on a Wednesday or Thursday night. But my relief was in the fact that a gay man served me, and I thought, okay, now so at least,
Ally.
yeah, I was like, okay, it can't be so bad around here, so we're good. We're good.
Yes.
Anyway, Matt, thank you for being here. I mean, I say it's been a long time since we podcasted together, but we did a show back in, I think that was like November.
Yeah. Yeah, it was very recently. So, or a long time ago. I don't know. Time is kind of relative once you reach a certain age.
Yeah, but you did RBR like just a few weeks ago, I think. You did I think, didn't they do something like a Cinco de former hosto?
Yeah.
Okay.
And if everybody wants to follow me, you can follow me on Twitter at Jobberton, or you can follow me on TikTok at Charmillionaire. So, yes.
I didn't know that was your TikTok handle.
Well, I wanted Al Gore rhythm, but that was taken. So, I'm Charmillionaire, like the Pokemon and the rapper. Just combine them. So,
well, I want you guys to leave this video a thumbs up if you haven't already. Just do it right now. You're sitting there, leave it a thumbs up. Just do it. Do it, and thank you. And also, we haven't even talked about this. Because this is only the second video show I've ever done with Matt. This guy has lost a fuck ton of weight. Look at this guy. Look at this guy. Oh, like,
hey, this isn't even my final form. No, I appreciate that. I appreciate the kindness that you posted on Twitter. I'm working on it. The last week, a lot of barbecue might have set me back a little bit, but yeah, 85 pounds, I believe, so far since last April. So, yes, working on it. And then the next step is to get jacked. So, and then I can make my pro wrestling debut.
That's so dope. No, seriously. I saw Matt. I haven't seen Matt in person since 2019 when he came through Denver, and what was the first thing I said when I saw you on Wednesday? I was like, "Where's the rest of them? Like, what happened?"
Yeah. Oh, I forgot. Yep. A lot of cardio. A lot of not partaking in the donuts and desserts and sweets at my job that are just constantly offered and floating around.
That's what started my weight gain journey, where I'm now up 30 pounds, and that is like my current job just loves to feed us. They provide everything. Every morning I walked into that office, they're just like, "Hey, we got donuts today," and I'm like, "Cool." Donuts and
there's
then
a holiday for every snack food.
Yeah, and there's I feel like every week somebody was throwing a potluck for something, and I'm like, what is even the occasion that's happening right now? But also, like, you guys brought Mexican, so okay. Yeah. I get these emails that come in probably once a day that say, hey, there's leftover, because there'll be like a conference that they'll have, and they'll order in, and they'll order way too much, and they'll say, hey, there's leftover this, and of course I'm like, wait, leftover Qdoba, all right, I'm coming over, and I'll go get Qdoba. And then also, shout out Tammy, our floor coordinator, but she also keeps all the snacks at her desk. She keeps a fucking box full of snack-size Oreos and a box full of Chips Ahoy and a box full of fruit snacks. And, like, this job, like I said, I've put on 30 pounds.
Yeah. Just say no. Just say no in the future. It's tough, but the one thing I'll never say no to, though, is wedding cake. When someone brings wedding cake on a Monday morning and they're like, we have leftover wedding cake, I will be there. I will eat all of the wedding cake, and I will feel like shit the rest of the day. But,
well, in 1 month, I'll be at Denise Salcedo's wedding, and
get me a slice.
I will also partake. So there's that. I have been keeping my watch on again. I had stopped wearing it through the pandemic. If people have noticed through the last couple of shows that I've done, it's probably been like 4 weeks, I've started wearing it again because it is a fitness tracker also. So I'm trying. I need to get at least 20 of this 30 back off. I I stepped on the scale yesterday, and I am at 220, and most people have known me at 190. So,
Yeah. Well, it's okay. You're the dad bod of dad. So
yes, I know, right? That's what I tell my brother, but he's like, I'm a dad too, and so I don't know. Anyway, yeah, and they wanted to know your secret in the chat. And you said that is
I do 4 hours. I try to do 4 hours of cardio a week, if you can believe it. Or probably after looking at my background back there, Pokemon Go has actually been a big help. Just walking and hatching eggs, playing that awful whale mobile app, and just investing way too much time into it. Cutting out the shit I write down in my notes app anytime I eat something I shouldn't. So it kind of helps me be accountable, and completely stop drinking soda, which I used to go to high school with like a 44-ounce Mountain Dew every single day. So yeah, this is in the Travis Kelce koozie is an aha. So.
Yeah, I love just sparkling water in general.
Cheers.
So
for the working
man. So I get it, but hey, folks. Thank you for being a part of this edition, the special edition of Day After Dynamite, the Dad, because this is Day After Dynamite, or Day of Rampage. Check out tonight's Rampage. I think the Hager match will surprise people because I think it was actually solid. Satnam Singh is exactly what you think, and the main event is a lot of fun. But also, like we said, Chris Statlander and Red Velvet, I think, deliver quite well. So check out Rampage. And that's it. Otherwise, folks, that's it for this edition of Day After Dynamite. Thanks for joining us. For Matt Galloway, I'm Will Washington. We'll see you next time. Have a great night. Peace. Did you just hit your mic?
I did. I was waving and I hit my mic.
All right, peace.